Shawna Marie Bryant is committed to empowering women who always put others first to rise above exhaustion, renew their strength, and step boldly into a life of freedom, joy, and lasting fulfillment. She's a podcaster, an international speaker, and a traditionally published author. She's personally guided hundreds of women through her book, Longing to Belong, subtitled Discovering the Joy of Acceptance. She can help anyone struggling with discouragement to restore hope and to begin again with a sense of purpose and expectation. Shawn is a wife, a mother, and a grandmother who's passionate about supporting the unsung heroes who hold it all together at home, at work, and in their communities. She is all about helping women realize their potential and start living the dream. As she so beautifully says, you don't have to abandon your dreams to help others reach theirs. Welcome to my realm. I'm Tami Jorden, and this is Butterfly Days, the podcast that proves you're not past your prime, you're living in it right now, because women don't have expiration dates. Butterfly Days is a celebration of the extraordinary potential of Gen X and Boomer women. Throughout history, women have shared wisdom to uplift and empower one another. And you're about to learn hard-earned wisdom and best-kept secrets from interesting, inspiring women. So if you're ready to embrace your butterfly season with confidence, find joy in the present, and create a legacy that matters, you're in the right place. No more holding back. Let's spread our wings now. Here we go. Welcome to my realm. This is Tami Jorden, and you're listening to Butterfly Days. Today, I have a conversation that I think is going to surprise you how much you enjoy it. We are going to speak with Shawna Bryant about going from being a doormat to a diamond. And I think it will resonate with you. But if it doesn't, I have the distinct feeling that you know the woman that it does. And if that's the case, please will you pass this on to her? And let's see if we can support her also. So Shawna Bryant has such an interesting life story. After getting her degree, her first full-time job was singing in a nightclub, which I find wildly romantic, and where she met a very handsome drummer. Love ensues. They marry. They open a business. They have a family. They are making music together, living the dream. And like all of us, things changed. They lost a son together. Their marriage suffered afterwards and nearly shattered. Her health and well being deteriorated. Her financial security evaporated. And their oldest child rebelled. Those of us who've been through that, we know. She nearly lost hope in all of this, but she dug into her faith. And within 2 years of her son's death, she was able to launch a speaking and a writing ministry to offer hope to other women who were weighed down by adversity. So, what I love about Shawna Bryant is that she's one of us. And the wisdom that she comes to share with us comes from such an authentic and a genuine place. And I am so excited to welcome you today, Shawna.
Oh, thank you, Tammy. I'm excited to be here. I really am.
Thank you so much. So today we're going to talk about going from being a doormat, which the history of women who do everything is
Mm.
maybe all of us or darn near all of us. So I think we can all relate, but it really begs the question, during all of the tough stuff, were you the doormat?
I was the doormat. I was the doormat. And even as you were greeting your beautiful audience and saying, we might not have all doormats out there, I thought
Yeah.
immediately of my daughter because she said, Mom, I know that you felt that way, and I'm sorry you felt that way. She's all grown up now, but she said, you did
Yeah.
something right because she said, I'm not a doormat. She said, I'm an oxygen mask parent, the one that always takes care of themselves first. So, okay,
So
well,
good.
maybe there's some balance there.
The blessing of it. Good, good. Maybe we did help our daughters be stronger. Thank you. That's a beautiful
Mm.
encouragement. So, like any of us, you started out struggling with feeling, oh my gosh, you had so many things happen and you felt like you had to
Yes.
care for everybody
hold it
at all
all
times.
together. Like
Yeah.
everybody depended on me and I couldn't lose it. I had to hold it together for everybody
Oh,
else.
honey. So for me, that often meant always saying yes to people. Um, Whatever was asked of me, it could be at home, at work, at church, in the community. Is that the sort of space that you were in
Absolutely.
at that point? Oh
Yes,
gosh.
yes. I felt that, well, first of all, if I didn't do it, it wouldn't get done. If I
Yes.
didn't take care of this situation, everything will fall apart. So there was that. But again, when you talked about me being a doormat and now I'm a diamond, looking back and holding that diamond up and all of those beautiful sides that give such beautiful colors,
Yeah.
it's from all of the pressing and all of the things that I endured. And one of the things that I learned that we don't think of, but it's so obvious, Tammy, that when we say yes to something or
Hmm.
someone, every time we say yes, we're saying no to something else. We have to, because we can't say yes and yes. There's no
And
such
yes,
thing.
and
And
yes. Yeah.
yeah, no, you can't. It's yes, so that I can't do that if I'm doing this. And with the people that suffer with boundary issues, that deal with all the kinds of things that I did, the doormats, if you will, the thing that we always say no to is me, right? I
Yeah.
come last, always last. And that's not
Yep.
a good thing.
It's not a good thing. It's so not. And of course you always think about the old adage, put your mask on first in the airplane emergency.
Hmm.
But I don't know about you, but I think the way that I was raised, and you and I are similar aged, I think I was not, I'm going to say given permission. Maybe that's not the right way, but I didn't know that it would be okay if I took care of me. I felt like if I took care of everybody else, then I would be taken care of somehow, magically.
Right. And that's not true. I mean, we'd like to think so.
We'd like to think
The
so,
whole
right?
idea of reciprocity, right? I do for you, you do
Yes.
for me, it all balances out in the end. But we really do determine our boundaries. And if
Yeah.
we let
Oh,
people encroach on them all the time, they're going to. And so one of the things that I've noticed is that boundary breakers don't like boundary makers. And when you finally get to that place where you're like, no, then all of a sudden, I have a friend that puts it this way. It's like you have a dance and everybody knows the steps to the dance. You've been doing them for 10, 20, 30
forever.
years. And then all of a sudden, you know what? You start dancing to a different tune and you're stepping on people's feet and they're tripping over and it's all your fault. But you're not going to dance.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. So, what do you think is the most obvious thing overlooked by people that always say yes? Like, what do you think is the sticky part there?
I think the sticky part, we touched on it a little bit already, is that you're going to say no. You're going to say no to something when you say yes to something. For example, this is a perfect example. My daughter, who grew up with me not having very good boundaries, now
Hmm.
has children of her own. And she forgot to send her daughter to school with something, but she was in the middle of something, right? So she called me, Mom, can you come by my house? I was already on my way out the door because I was headed
Oh,
to my Pilates class, right? Can
yes.
you come by my house and grab this and take it to school? And for a moment, I thought, you know what? I can do that because I'm already headed out the door. But
Yeah.
then I realized, you know what? If I do, I'll miss Pilates. So I said,
Hmm.
nope, no, not
I
right now. I
can't.
can't. I can't.
Not your girl. It's
Hmm.
so good because that's exactly the moment when it's like you're over the fire because you're like, I could fix this and
Yep.
it would feel so good if I fixed it because then I would be a great mom, you know,
Hmm.
good Grammy, whatever your special Nana, whatever your name
Oh,
is.
actually, my name is Nana. My daughter came up
Oh, I
with
love it.
this because she said it's Shawna, but instead of the SH, it's an N. So
Oh,
I'm Nana Shawna.
I love Nana.
Nobody
That's
spells it right
actually,
though, because I spell my name Shawna. So there it is,
yes.
Nana.
Oh, I think that's precious, first of all. The whole grandmother name thing is great. Well, I like that. And I do have to tell you though, and I understand that many of us that participate in Butterfly Days community, we come from different backgrounds, and this is mine. I grew up in a fundamentalist, not so much my household, but we attended a fundamentalist church when I was in high school, etc. And I was a girl who was a good girl, and I tried very hard to follow the rules and to do what I was told. And I believed that, pleasing at my church was a really big deal. And one of the things that they used to say to us is, the equation for joy, and no, and it's in the spelling. Joy, Jesus, others, and you. When you keep your priorities in that order, you'll know joy.
Oh,
And I am a young kid, so I take that black and white.
wow.
And it would take me years to untangle that I wasn't going to be morally reprobate for putting my needs in front of anybody else's. Do you know? I mean, there's just and maybe
Wow.
not everybody comes from that background, but in my mix, it was interwoven.
I understand that. Well, one of the things that, because I have a similar tradition raised in the church, it was healthy though. I often have people say, "Oh, my dad was a pastor, my mom was a licensed clinical social worker." And so
Uh,
we had one of the just most beautiful, safe, and secure childhoods and blessed. I think that the church, I say tradition, has done a real disservice to women in when it comes to the teaching on submission. Because the
mm,
Bible teaches that we're to submit to one another out of love. But then the teaching on the marriage relationship, it always comes out, well, wives are supposed to submit to their husbands. I'm old enough to remember when wedding vows said, I will obey, right? I obey.
yes. Yeah.
Thankfully, that's long gone. But the context of that scripture, Tammy, is not
Mhm.
just that women are to submit to their husbands, which again, when you understand what that means, it's a partnership. We were created, it says in Genesis, out of the
It's
man's side
partners.
by Adam's rib. But it also
Mhm.
says that the man is supposed to love the wife in the same way that Christ loved his church and laid down his life. I mean, he died to his everything. He completely gave up his will, which
Give
obviously we all have a
wholly.
will to live. And he said, okay, I'll drink from this cup and I'll die. And so
Mm.
I think that if you have that kind of relationship with your husband, yes, you could submit it to a man who is willing to die for you.
Yeah, because then it's mutual. Sure. Yeah, and
Absolutely. Mhm.
I kind of like that a lot because I think that looking at it a little more broadly and probably a little bit more accurately, to what was written, it gives a lot more room for us to have. I didn't have any personal boundaries. I didn't know I was allowed to have them. And I
Right.
think with a fuller understanding of that, it does give more room for us to understand it's okay if we have personal boundaries. And it's okay also if people if the no meant somebody was disappointed they didn't get what they wanted.
Well, honestly, the classic book on boundaries is the one that's 25 years old now, with by Cloud and Townsend. And one of the things they talk about is a case study where this couple came in and they were so upset because their adult son was just running ramshot over their lives.
Mm,
And he said, here's the situation. Your yards, picture it this way, your yards are side by side, and you've got your hose
mhm.
in your son's yard, and his grass is green, and yours is dying, and you're wondering
Wow.
what the problem is. You need to
Oh,
take that hose,
wow.
let him suffer the consequences of his dead lawn, and keep
Yeah.
yeah.
My husband taught me this within the last, probably just right before the pandemic. He really got me to see it. We were trying to deal with one of our kids growing up having, all the teenage kid issues.
Mm-hmm.
And we were trying to motivate one of the young ladies to think about doing something a particular way. And he finally said to me, you know something? We got to stop trying to do this because the problem here is she doesn't have a problem. Until it's her problem,
Her
it's
problem.
not a problem.
That's right.
And it really taught me that if you want someone to make changes, first of all, you can't make someone else make changes in any way that's positively healthy, even if they're teenagers. And I mean, you can exert your will, but the long term of what you're looking for is probably not going to come to pass. But if you let it be their problem or figure
That's
out how
right.
it is their problem and help them to see it that way, that's when you're going to get movement. The boundary cannot be, I have to do all of the work and you just reap. That's not healthy
That's
by
right.
anybody's definition. It doesn't matter if it's with a spouse, your children, a boss. That's untenable long term. I
That's
mean,
right.
and by this age, we know that, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's
So
hard learned.
very hard learn. So, is there a particular experience in your life that helped you become an expert on the subject of boundaries?
Yeah, I think, you get your feet, you get feet wiped on you enough times that there's that saying, after once, shame on you. After twice, 3 times, 10 times, hello, shame on me. It's time for me
Yeah.
to get my act together. And it's so funny that I call this program Doormat to Diamond. And it really did for me, the aha was with a doormat. I was in the store and I was shopping and I saw this doormat and I thought, oh, this is perfect for my front door. I love this doormat. It said, all are welcome here. And I put it at my doormat, feeling so warm and welcoming. All are welcome here. And then I realized, no, you know what? There are some people that have crossed the line in my life and they are not welcome here.
Yeah.
So I picked up the mat and I moved it to our back door. Now we live out in the country and a lot of people don't come to our front door. They'll just come right through the side gate and up onto the back porch. There's a doorbell there too. And I realized, you know what? Sometimes those are the very people who are breaking boundaries. They don't even go to the
Oh,
front door. So I picked up the mat and I moved it into my garage. Now, the only people that come through that door are my husband and myself. And most of the time, my husband is welcome here most of the time. And as I looked at that mat, there was one day, you know how it is, your head is
I love that.
hanging. You're coming in the door and I'm standing there and I'm looking at that mat and I realized, you know what? I've come a long way. This went from my
Yeah,
front
you
door
have.
to my back door to my garage. And I
Yeah.
needed to just polish up that diamond that had been crafted through all of the pressure and all of the pain and say, you know what? I am going to use this pain, this experience to help
Yeah.
other women.
Oh, I love that so much. I think of times in my life when I was definitely being the doormat. I remember in one particular rough patch, I said to somebody, I'm like a pencil that's the eraser of a pencil, and I've been rubbed all the way down to there's almost nothing left of me. And I could not understand how did I get to that point that uh, eh, that there was like nothing left. But the answer is in what you're saying is that
Yeah.
I had no boundaries. I never required anybody, don't do this. I'm still trying to put others before me constantly. What I think I didn't see for years is that I was so frustrated that I felt like other people were using me. But the truth
Yep.
is, I was out there selling my services. They were not, I volunteered for everything and I didn't understand why it wasn't offered back to me. But it took me a while to understand when you have dignity, you automatically require it graciously,
That's right.
that other
Absolutely.
people treat you with the same respect that you are offering them. I was
Mhm.
under the impression it was only my job to be respectful and then wait,
Mm.
and that doesn't work
No,
at all.
no, it
Yeah.
doesn't. No.
So, one of the things that I know is one of the tenets of your Doormat to Diamond program is that you talk about self determination.
Hmm.
Can you define it for us first and then maybe tell us? a little bit more about it?
Sure. So the self-determination theory is old. It's been around for a while. And what it says is that people are the most productive when their basic psychological needs are met. And our two
Mm.
most basic psychological needs are relatability, right? We want to belong. We want to be seen. We
Hmm.
want to be heard. We want to be loved. And then
Yeah. Yeah.
competence. We want to have a sense of purpose. We want to feel like
Yeah.
we're making a difference in the world. And
Yeah.
when those needs are
Meaning.
met, yeah, we're productive. And so when those needs are not met, like for example, we have a boss that never recognizes our efforts
Mm,
and pats us on the back, just
I
takes for
hate that
granted that we're
guy.
going to get that report. Yeah. Or if we have someone in our family, right, that withholds love as a sort of a passive aggressive kind of, then it doesn't just affect our mood. It affects our productivity. And we experience exhaustion. We experience burnout. We lose our sense of purpose and our sense of belonging. And so it is so important to say, this is who I am and this is what I want. And then not try to seek the affirmation from other people because they're not always going to give us. Sometimes we have a great boss and a wonderful husband. Sometimes we don't. But
Sometimes we don't.
so we have to do that for ourselves. And so whether that means, you know what? I am going to go to Trader Joe's and buy myself some flowers today or whatever it is.
I love this because one of the things that I have absolutely noticed about women after age 50 in midlife for sure is that if we don't begin, because so many of us were socialized to look outside us to our communities, to our families, to our work, to tell us if we were good enough, if we were good girls, if we've been approved.
Right.
And if we don't over 50, when our hormones drop and the ability to stop caring quite so much about everything else comes into play for us, if we don't begin to change the locus of our self affirmation from external with all that they thought into our own heart and our own selves to say, I see my beauty, I see my worth, and I can proceed from here because I believe you have the right. Certainly, I must also have the right. And
Mm-hmm.
when we come into that level of empowerment, not selfish, not arrogant, not
No.
narcissistic, but honest and true. I'm a wonderful person. I'm not perfect, but
Yes.
I've worked very hard to get this far. Do you ever think about your self talk?
Self-talk, what a great segue this is because I'd started out talking about how my daughter said, well, mommy did something right. Cause I'm an
Yeah.
oxygen mask, not a doormat. And when my daughter was really little, she loved it when I would scratch her back before bed. You know, we would do the nighttime stories. She'd roll over, mommy, scratch
Yes.
my back. And so I would start spelling out words. Like I would draw a
Oh,
letter that formed a word and then pause so that she could figure out. Of course, I would always do I and then LOVE. And she'd go, mommy, mommy, I know. I love you. I love you. I know. And so, one time I thought, you know what, I'm going to fool her. And so instead of right after the I put an M and I could say, and then I put an S and then a P and I proceeded to scratch the word special onto her back. I mean, she, you know, little girl,
oh,
big word. She finally figured it out. Mommy, I'm special. And I said, yes, you are. Yes, you are. And so then I would start to scratch that word sometimes. And because
yeah,
sometimes I put smart, you know,
yeah,
SMART. But
yeah.
whenever I put the P after the S, she'd
She
go,
knew.
I know I'm special. What a good thing to learn as a little girl that you're
Yes.
smart and that you're special. Yeah.
And capable and you matter. And,
Mm-hmm.
when I think of the years of self talk, definitely self talk. Yeah. Before 50, one of the tough things when I think about it in myself is that I was so mean to me. I was so much harder
Mm.
on me. I was a failure. I wasn't tough enough. I didn't meet some standard that I had for myself. And when that would happen, I was so, just torn up that I had failed some level of something. But when I looked at my friends when they made a mistake, I was like, "Oh, it's okay, people make
Yep.
mistakes, and I still see your heart, and you're still an amazing person." But I wasn't doing it for me.
You're doing it for yourself.
I didn't even know I was
So
allowed to.
true.
First of all, that was a game
Mhm.
changer. But we must, and like, if you're listening to this right now, I think Shauna and you and I both agree with this. If you are listening to this right now, you are good enough. You
Yes.
are worthy and you matter. But us saying it to you can only be second place. I hope if you're listening to this right now, you know and believe this deeply for your own self. It's been a game changer for
Absolutely.
me. I assume for you as well.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. Self-talk, there is so much. There's an old proverb that says there's power of life and death in the tongue, and those who love it eat its fruit. And so many people think, well, that's why you shouldn't negative self-talk because, you're going to eat all this rotten fruit and watch what you say and clean up your mouth. But the
Yeah.
opposite is true. It says there's power of life in the tongue. And so if you begin to say, I'm special, I'm smart, I'm important, I have value, I'm worthy, there is so much power in that.
Yeah, I love that. So, in self determination, you know your value, you
Hmm.
are able to live in such a way that we can see it by your actions. Because if you think
Absolutely.
you believe in it, but we don't see it in your actions, we know it's an apple tree when it's making apples,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely. My goodness. There's a story in the Bible about how a farmer sowed some seed and then his enemies came at night and threw a bunch of weeds in it. And so when the wheat began to sprout, so did the weeds. And so the workers said to the farmer, to the landowner, oh gosh, should we pull out all of these weeds? And he said, no, 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 because you might accidentally pull out some of the good stuff too. Let them,
Yeah,
let them grow up together and then we will harvest it. The weeds will be burned and the wheat will be taken into the barn. And so what
yeah,
that tells me is, yeah, you know what? Life is not perfect and it's not always ideal. And we are going to have to deal with the weeds. We're going to have to deal with the enemy that comes in and throws the weeds into our field. But
yeah,
we can survive it. We can become stronger by it. I love the concept of weightlifting. When you think about it, you are tearing apart your muscle and it's the
yeah,
process of it healing that makes it bigger and stronger. You
yeah.
tear it apart, it repairs
Mhm.
itself. And as you tear and heal, you get stronger and stronger.
Breakdown and repair, breakdown and repair.
Yep.
Boy, that is great. And lately I've been thinking about those of us in midlife and about all of the tough things we have gone through that got us to this point. And there was a lot of breakdown restoration that got us to the strength of where we are now, to where we can begin to think about the diamond things that we want to do. And I've talked to a lot of millennials lately who are super, they're like, oh, tell me, I want to know what kind of things you guys are talking about. And I think that they're always looking for, okay, how do we figure out not to have hardships? But it's precisely in having lived through hardships that we
Mm-hmm.
have the strength and the clarity and the trust in love that
Mm-hmm.
transcends us, that we're ready to move, if we have struggled at all with being a doormat, to shift into the understanding that we could indeed be a diamond.
Right. Absolutely.
All that pressure made something beautiful and worthy and valuable.
Right. You just have to know the process of getting up off of the ground where people are wiping their feet on you and holding that diamond up to the light. And that's why I developed my Doormat to Diamond course that I offer. But I teach this path to healthy boundaries. And the concept of it is it's almost like if you've ever been in one of those ornamental like Japanese gardens, the paths are actually part of the boundaries of it. And they're beautiful and they form this space around, say, a bonsai tree or a pond or something lovely. And so if we
Hmm.
think of that path to healthy boundaries as being that
Mm,
protects our heart and our mind and our spirit from
mm,
from people who want to encroach
mm.
against them, that's what it's all about. And so I
Mm.
teach these 7 different things, these steps, if you will, on the path to help you establish those healthy boundaries.
Ah, that's so beautiful. And I love that realizing that appropriate boundaries protects you and honors you
Mm,
and keeps you safe. Also, being able to understand then the same is true for everyone else using their appropriate boundaries. That's nobody else's job to meet our expectations,
that's right.
which seems wrong on some days, but apparently
Mm.
that's the setup of this thing.
That's
I'm
right.
being ridiculous.
It
No, no,
works
no.
for us and it works
Yeah.
against us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like everything, there's a plus
That's
and a
right.
minus. So is it an order? When I think of the paths, when the Zen garden that you draw this beautiful image of,
Yes.
I see that as having some rounding. But are there specific steps that make this path, or how do you envision it?
There are specific steps, but you don't start on step 1 and then move to step 2 and then move to step 3. You can focus on any one at any given time. Just because I have
Mm,
to start somewhere, I have the first step as allow feelings. One of the most important things to do if you have boundary issues is to allow yourself to feel. Because
yeah.
once, we're so used to stuffing it down. Lisa Turkhurst has a wonderful book that's called Good Boundaries and Goodbyes. And she talks about
Mm,
how if you hold a beach ball under the surface of the water for any given period of time and you finally let it go, does it slowly float up to the top?
yeah.
No,
No.
it shoots into the sky. And that's what happens when we try to stuff our emotions. And
Love
so,
it.
what I talk about in these 7 steps, like I said, the first one is allow feelings,
Mm,
act with intention. There's
mm,
advocate fiercely. There's all these different things. But what I want you to do is to focus on one until you've got
mm.
it. I've got this. Because one of the things that we tend to do when we're always saying yes and we're juggling so many things is we'll move a ball forward, right? 3 steps. And then we'll run over here and we'll move a ball forward 2 steps. And then we'll run over here. And meanwhile, that first ball that we moved 3 steps has rolled backwards. And we feel like we never get anywhere. And so what I just
Because
really
we're
encourage
not.
is, no, we're not. We're constantly backtracking and all of that is to just take it one step at a time. Today, I'm going to
Mm.
work on this and I'm really going to work on this until I feel confident that I can move on to the next one.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's so, especially in, right now with all the social media options and things that we have, I think we're hyper stimulated and
Yeah.
it's so easy to have that ADD brain. I don't know about you, but I struggle with attention. Something after menopause, I my attention span is so lame now, and
Oh, I asked
it's
my doctor.
brilliant.
I said, do I have ADD?
Tell.
Do you get diagnosed in your 50s with ADD? And she said, Shawna, you don't have ADD. You just have too much on your plate.
Oh, I
But
love
my
that.
daughter has it. So I figured maybe she got it from me. No, we all
Yeah.
decided she got it from her dad. Absolutely.
The drummer, the aforementioned
That's
drummer.
right.
Oh, I
Yes.
love that. I love that. I think that being able to focus a little bit better would be super helpful. But I'm thinking about as some women I know who are struggling with being a doormat. And I'm going to ask you some of the things that I'm thinking about them because I would
Hmm.
love to have your insight here. One of the things I've noticed is they are doing what you said. They are rushing between putting fires out on lots of different issues. And then and I've done this too, that rushing between these things that just seem so important actually, to my eye, appears to be treading water and mistaking it for swimming somewhere.
So true. That's so true. You feel, I remember one time when someone said to me, you are so busy. You're just so busy. And I took pride in that. I'm busy until
Yes.
like you're alone with yourself at night and you're like,
Mm.
she didn't say I was productive. She said I was
Oh,
busy.
yeah.
I don't want to
Dang
be
it.
busy. Busy
No.
bee. We think of that bee that bzzz, and it doesn't get anywhere. I don't want to be busy. I want to be
No,
productive.
that's what I call a wisdom pivot. It's one of those moments when somebody says something so brilliant that you can actually begin to to navigate with that point, as you know, in your dashboard of GPS, is
Hmm.
we don't want to be busy, we want to be productive. It's
Right.
the difference between treading water and swimming out to where we
Swimming.
need to go. And sometimes that flailing around and rushing between things is because there are things that we might not want to look at if we slowed down. And it
That's
might
right.
serve us to trust that we could be okay to consider those things.
Right. And
Gosh.
again, allowing feelings is a part of that. If we're busy, we don't
Yeah.
have time to feel what I feel.
No.
Because what I
No.
feel, one of the things that I absolutely am adamant about helping women understand is you cannot pass a moral judgment on a feeling. A feeling is a human emotional response to stimuli.
Yeah.
You feel pain when you touch something hot on the stove. That's not like, oh, bad you should never have touched the stove.
Yeah.
It's a pain
There's no
response.
moral imperative here.
Exactly. And so what, if we can begin to say feelings are positive, we like positive feelings, or
Yeah.
negative, but they're not naughty or bad.
Yeah.
They're they're negative. And how am I going to respond to this feeling? Well, we don't even give ourselves a chance to ask ourselves that question if we won't even allow ourselves to feel it.
No, no. And I think part of being a doormat often is because there is someone who would be offended by us having a proper boundary
Mm,
that we are frightened to displease because either they or someone else in the constellation of a relationship does not want us to not be able to get along well with the difficult person.
that is so
Do
true.
you have any tips on that, Shawna, for how to navigate having boundaries when it feels like I'm in danger of being treated as if it's all my fault
Yeah. Do you know
for
a lot of
wanting a
times,
boundary?
right? And I said this right up front that boundary breakers don't like boundary makers. And so there's
Mm,
going to be a disruption in the dance. There's going to be feet stepped on, but you have to be strong enough. And sometimes you just have to say, I need to leave because heightened emotions. I, I once heard that there are different areas of the brain that control some of the different emotions that we have. And
mhm.
that anger actually makes you lose judgment. It's a proven
Yes.
scientific fact.
Yep.
So if you are feeling angry, there is absolute scientific backing to back off, calm down, because once you say it, it's out there. But
It's out
if you
there.
can wait until you're not angry anymore and then respond, but know, just know that when you begin to establish boundaries, you're going to meet with some opposition because people are used to being able to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be
And
easy.
and the I don't know if motive is the right word, but the incentive to
Mm-hmm.
be willing, because some of us, we don't like conflict. We do
Mm-mm.
not want to have a problem. And yet, the kind of dishonest part is if they're using you because you can't properly state a boundary, there is a problem. You're not
Eh,
making a problem. You're just saying,
right,
I'll carry it, right?
right.
Is there
It'll be my problem.
language? It'll be my problem, right? Because you're thinking, well, I
Mhm.
can do it. I can do it. But the thing is, I just cannot imagine that anyone who wants your best life thinks that you should have to always be the towel to mop everything up, that that's all your value is. You know, that people who genuinely love you, that that's what they want for you is to be the doormat. I
Yeah.
is do you have, you know what I really wonder? Do you have language that you like for how to express a boundary that's resolved enough to be appropriate but not angry?
One of the things that I learned to say is, I will no longer allow you to interpret how I feel. I will no longer
Mm,
allow you to interpret how I respond to something or feel about something. And people are going to say what they're going to say. They're going to feel what they're going to feel. They're going to think what they're going to think. And you don't really, again, one of the problems with people with boundary issues is that we want to fix all that. We don't want them to feel
Yeah.
that way. But like you were saying earlier, Tami, they're going to, there's really is. And if you think, well, I will take that on so that it's not a problem, well, it is a problem. It's just become your problem. And so if you can say, this is how I feel, this is how I see it, and I understand that you may not see it that way, and just let that be okay.
And stop
Because
right there.
Mm-hmm, yeah. Stop
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah. Part of what's under this doormat proposition, sometimes you have done everything for so long that people don't realize they're using you. I had
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends who it would be decades later. Some of my oldest friends, before we talked about that, I felt very used because I tried so hard to show up, like during our 20s. I tried so hard to show up for everything. And then I had
Mm-hmm.
some major, terrible events and you were MIA. And they were like,
Right.
oh, we didn't even realize it. And I know they love me, but they didn't realize it. And it's actually my fault because
Right.
whose
Right.
job was it to convey that? And I was so mad for a long time because I was like, they must not have really loved me. No, I didn't love me. When I got all the way to the
So
bottom of the
good.
doormat, the problem was me. I did what you did. I was putting the everybody welcome at the front door and inviting them in. It was my job to say, can someone please help me? Or that hurts my feelings, or I need help. All of
Exactly.
the all of the things to ask for support and or to offer it for myself. It never occurred to me that if someone asked me to do something and it was going to make me exhausted, that I was allowed to say, oh gosh, I can't do that for you. I love you and I hope you find
Mm-hmm.
somebody, but I can't be me this time. Uh, Do you know how many years it took me to understand that I had a right to that?
Yeah, I hear you. I'm right there with you. So it's and it's true that you kind of like write the rules for your relationships by what you allow and what you don't allow. I remember my girlfriend has a story about her dog pulling, I think tearing an ACL or something. She spent tons of money getting it fixed, and then it tore the other one. And she's like, this is crazy. And so she spent tons of money getting that one fixed. But then the dog never walked the same. She's like, I spent all this money. This dog is not getting better. So she took it back to the surgeon who said, wait here in the waiting room, took the dog to the back. And minutes later, the dog comes out jumping and bouncing and everything's fine. No limp at all. And she goes, how did you do it? It's a miracle. And he said, well, can I just ask you, when you saw the dog acting like it was in pain, what did you do? Oh, well, I picked up that dog and gave him a treat. And she said, the doctor said, you trained your dog to limp.
Yes. Isn't that insane?
We train our family, we train our friends, we train them. One of the things that I have on my website is a quiz to find out how
Mhm.
healthy
Oh,
your boundaries are. And what's so interesting is when I put that quiz together with a lot of, it's nothing certainly like official or
mhm.
doctor approved, but I've been to enough therapy and read enough
Girl, I
books
live
that,
long enough.
yeah. So, but what's so interesting to me is I can look at that quiz now and answer
Mhm.
it so much differently, but I recognize basically it's all these questions. If you answer one, it means rarely. If you answer
Yeah.
two, it means sometimes. And if you answer three, it means frequently. And as I
Yes.
look, there are even some that I still, oh gosh, I'm still doing that more than I should. But it's really a helpful kind of self-evaluation of what is it I'm going to allow. And one of the things, to your point about your friends, is I'm usually the one that reaches out to my friends. Is that,
Yeah.
frequently? Is that rarely? Is that sometimes? And I realized, you know what, if I'm always the one to reach out to my friends, then I'm teaching them that they don't have to reach out to me.
Just like her with her
Yep.
dog. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I love
Yes.
that. One of the things that I have learned in beginning the work to develop this podcast is how important community and friendships is to longevity, to healthy longevity, certainly, and to quality of life to the end, however long you live. Is that our friendships as women are really critical for lots of
Mhm.
reasons. One, we live longer than men on average. Two, divorce, widowhood, lots of things end up to where you may or may not have a partner by the end of your life, but you almost surely will still have girlfriends.
Right.
Consequently, to develop healthy, reciprocal, strong, loving bonds with other women is really important. And if you're being a doormat and you're only the giver, the scenario of you at 80 needing help and
Mm,
nobody wants to help you because you trained them, they didn't need to,
that's
you
right.
know? It,
Good point.
That
Yes.
wow, wow. So, now that you have, healthy boundaries and you've worked on self-determination, do you think that the quality of your friendships and your marriage, etcetera, do you feel that you how do you feel difference?
Oh gosh. There was a rough patch. I talked about the dancing steps and stepping on toes. But once we got past that,
Mm.
it's beautiful. I mean, even like my daughter will say to me now, Mom, I didn't ask you if you would do this because I knew that you had that going on. And so I didn't even
Aw.
ask. And I'm just like, oh, honey, that means so much to me. And there'll be times when she's not sure whether or not she should ask me. And so now I'm like, how about if you just kind of keep track? If I haven't asked my mom for anything for at least the past 5 days, then I'm going to ask her because I
There's a
still want to
clear
be there
opening.
for you. I still want to do things. But I love that she has,
Just
learned that
ask,
she can,
baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ask me, go ahead and
Oh,
ask me and I'll say no. Um,
yeah.
and it's
Yeah, if
okay.
we
Just
can
as
both
long as
trust
you're
each
okay with
other.
a no, right?
Yeah,
Exactly. It's all
yeah.
about mutual
Oh, I
trust.
love that.
Yes.
I love that, and that is a conversation we can have. You can ask me anything, and please, if you could know that I'll give you an honest answer, then, we
Exactly.
can and the same for you to me. We can have that
Right.
honest connection. Do you find that it has improved the quality of your friendships? Did you end up losing friends in this?
You know what? It's what's funny is I didn't really have a lot of friends. I mean, I had a tight, I'm more of an introvert, so I don't need a
Yes.
lot of people around me.
Mhm.
But it's funny because my daughter, again, I keep referring to her, but she's all grown up
Yeah.
with children and she's got some wisdom of her own now. She'll say, Mom, you have the best friends. When she turned 30, it was hilarious. I said, honey, I want to throw you a party. And
Mhm.
she said, well, I want to invite your friends to my party because I love your
Aw.
friends. So I said,
Aw,
okay,
those are
we'll
good
invite them too.
friends.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. And so now you're seeing in your life that in being a diamond, they love that you're a diamond, they see it in you, and
Yes.
they support that in you as they allow you to do for them. The mutuality of that,
Yes,
I
absolutely. It
love
is.
that.
It's
I'm
beautiful.
so glad you have that, Shauna. You so deserve it.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
even
you.
from this conversation, it just shines through. This has really been a nice range of subject to talk about because I think so many of us struggle with having appropriate boundaries and with having been a doormat and uh, been afraid that if we stopped being it or we've been it so long we think that's all we are, and you can always upgrade because you're not a
Absolutely.
doormat, you're a diamond, but
No,
you need to see that.
that's right.
I love that so much. Shauna, so two things. You have a book, and do you want to share with us
Yes.
the title of your book?
Yes, I have a book called Longing to Belong. It's on Amazon. You can find it there for sure. Longing to Belong. That deals more with identity. I think that
Hmm.
really before we can establish those boundaries, we talked a little bit about self-talk and knowing I'm
Yeah.
worthy. You know what? I deserve to have boundaries. And so
Yeah.
Longing to Belong is about how fitting in is not the same
Mm.
thing as belonging. Because when we belong, we are genuinely and authentically ourselves. And we know, yes, this is my place. These are my people. But if we're trying to fit in, it's because we're
Yes.
trying, right? How do I shade those corners off my square peg so I can fit into that round hole? And it's never really real. And so I talk about just finding your identity and knowing who you are in that
That's
book.
beautiful.
Now, the Doormat to Diamond is newer. I'm going to have a book one day. I'm working on it. But like I said, I am going to be offering a course. It'll be alive, kind of like you and I are right now. We won't be in the same room, but I'll be able to walk you
I
through
love those.
the steps.
I have found so much value in that format and in through courses. And they can find out about your courses is at Shawna.
Yes, it's Shawna Marie Bryant. And maybe you can put it in the description because that's
It will
long to spell, but
Shawna Marie Bryant is the website. You can find it on all of my, wherever you're listening to this, it will be in the show notes at the bottom. And you had something else, and the Doormat to Diamond, if people are interested in doing that, they'll be able to find how to sign up and learn more about it on the website.
I just bought the URL doormattodiamond.com. And so I don't know how
Here
long it'll
soon.
be before this, but yeah, it'll be there soon. So if you go to Doormat to Diamond and it says Namecheap has sold this, that's true. But if you see the site, then it'll be
okay. That's lovely. That's lovely.
Yeah.
And also, we can find you on Instagram. And
yes, I'm on Instagram, and I have
Shawna
a
Marie
YouTube channel
Bryant?
as well. Yes,
Okay.
yes, it's always
Oh, and
Shawna
a
Marie
YouTube.
Bryant.
Oh, that's right. You have a
channel.
YouTube channel
Yes,
and
I
a
do.
podcast also still?
I do. Yeah, the YouTube and the podcast are the same. One is just the audio version, and the other is the video.
I love that. Okay,
So,
great.
yeah.
And this would be such a beautiful way for people to reach out to. I think this whole inspiring idea that we have intrinsic value and that we deserve to live lives as a diamond and not as a doormat is so beautiful. And I'm so honored that you chose to share it with us and that you came through everything that you came through, Shawna, to become the quality of woman who would care enough about other people to create a framework to help them be able to come into some of the love that you have come into in your own life. And I just find that so beautiful. And I'm so grateful for it. And I hope that you know, Shawna Marie Bryant, that I am rooting for you, girl.
Thank
you. I
you.
hope you get your message to every woman who needs it. And that the healing that takes place from that is beautiful and transcendent for all of you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm honored.
I am too. I had fun too.
I did
great
too.
conversation. You're my new best friend.
I know. I'm thinking to myself, I am having her back and we are going to talk about even the first book stuff because it really is important that we're clear about our value and our right to exist as us.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
There's just been far too many things in culture that have squelched women's voices in that regard. And you are certainly a voice saying you're beautiful. Stand up and be counted.
Amen.
I love
Thank
that.
you.
Amen.
You are too.
I'm so grateful you listened to this episode. I hope it was a real value to you. If there's a sister in your life who needs this message, please share it, just like women have done to lift each other up over the centuries and across cultures. Women lifting each other is so important. It's why I do this work. And to avoid FOMO and keep up leveling your own life, make sure you don't miss the next episode. You may be losing hormones, but your life has given you powerful perspective. And I believe you have something to give that no one else does, that the world needs. So remember, I'm rooting for you. Let's go.